What's up, everybody? My name is Chris Enriquez, at Chris Enriquez Drums. I play in the band Spotlights, at Spotlights Music. I work at Revolver Magazine, at Revolver Mag. I am your host of Age of Quarantine. Thank you so much for tuning in Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's been going really well, and I can't believe that we are entering. I can't even count how many episodes at this point. Let's see where we're at. I mean, it's astounding. We are currently on episode 32. What you hear in the background is my guest's band. He's in a band called Whores. They've played St. Vitus many times. They've sold out St. Vitus. They're one of my favorite underground bands, and I became very good friends with the lead singer, Christian, as well as past and present members. I see that he is here watching, so I'm going to stop talking and let him do some talking, because we're going to get to know him over the next hour or so. If you have any questions, there's a question box on the bottom of this screen. Please use the question box, and I'll use those to address anything you guys want to add. And I wanted to thank Andrew Castle of Perfect World for making the amazing flyers and all the episodes that end up on my YouTube channel the next day if you tune in too late. And Ralph Torres from Total Meltdown is the one handling that. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Christian Lembach from the band Whores should be popping up on the screen momentarily. Let's see where he's at. There he is. What's up? What's up, my brother? You look fantastic. I love it.
I've been teasing my friends about getting this stupid hat for a long time. And then I just bit the bullet a couple days ago, so now I own one.
Well, you can pull it off. You can pull it off because you're also from the South, so you get a pass.
What?
What's that? Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was calling it my Jeff Tweedy hat for a while. But then another friend of mine who is into hats was like, nah, dude, it's a Eisenhower, Truman, LBJ hat. I was like, oh, that's so much better. I mean, I love,
Hell
those
yeah.
are original gangsters, so it's cool.
Well, you look fantastic, and I'm really excited that we get to talk and spend the hour together with
Watched a bunch of them.
Yeah, man. So before we dive into it, let me just ask you, how have you been managing to get through this whole pandemic situation?
I'm pretty fortunate in that it's really not that different from like my regular life. It's sort of like just being between tours, or I do like movie stuff too when the band is on the road to make ends meet, and like it's just being in between shows or in between tours. I mean, the money thing sucks, but I mean, it's nothing approaching what the vast majority of people are dealing with. So it's pretty good. I mean, I can't get the tacos I like if that's my biggest problem, like it's spoiled, man. It really has been pretty easy, all things considered.
I'm glad to hear that, and you're safe and healthy and all that. So that's what's important. Yeah, I've been using the platform to get to know folks. We've obviously had a million bands play at the club, and yours has played there so many times. But you can only get to know people so much from watching them play. So if you're cool with it, I'm gonna dig deep into your history and ask you some questions.
Yeah, sure. Open book.
All right. Yes, you are. Well, let's start with this. Where are you originally from?
My family's from New York. I was born in North Jersey, Point Pleasant Beach, and then moved down to South Florida when I was like 4, 5, or 6, somewhere in that area. Spent most of my life in South Florida, Marco Island, which is like really, really small. It's like 7 miles square, I think. And then when I graduated from high school, I went up to North Carolina to go to college, and then moved to Atlanta in like 94, and I've been here since. Although I will go up to New York or Philly and work for, a stretch, but I keep my apartment in Atlanta. Yeah.
I did not know that. I just assumed you were born and raised in Atlanta, but 94 is obviously like not only a long time ago, but an important year for just growth and music and all that. So it's safe to say that that a lot of the things going on in Atlanta, I'm sure, shaped who you are from '94.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. What are your earliest memories of discovering music, just in general? You know, even if it was like when you were 2 or 3 years old, like just from the beginning.
Well, I've told this kind of not really a story, but I've mentioned this before. But I remember it really vividly because when I was a little kid, like most people, both my parents worked. So when I would get home from school, like the bus would drop me off, and I would run home top speed from the bus stop to my house. And my dad had a stereo in the garage, and there was like a workbench that had the stereo on the shelf, and then the two like speakers like on either side. And I would get a little step ladder, and I would climb up and sit on the workbench and like angle the two speakers in so they were like giant headphones into the radio until my parents came home. And that was like, you know, FM wasteland radio. But I was just, before I discovered like punk music and stuff, music just seemed magical. As an adult, it does again, but like it didn't seem like something that was created. It just seemed like something that just existed on its own. And, you know, that I had, you know, sort of an entryway into this. I mean, it sounds like I'm overdoing it or being melodramatic about it, but when I was that age, it didn't feel real. It was really exciting, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's. I think that the one thing that can be said for all of us as musicians is that like the first time you experience that kind of just in general, it's a magical, transformative thing. It's why you end up the way that you ultimately are, dedicated and passionate about it. So I love that. I love just finding that out. When did you start actually playing music, and how did you get inspired to do that?
I got a guitar, I think when I was maybe 13, maybe eighth grade, something like that. And at that time, I was only into like hair metal and stuff because I was between like 10 and about that age, 13 or 14. That's really all I had was exposed to because I lived in such an isolated part of the world. There was no like counterculture or like
Right.
it just exists, you know. So I got a guitar and I tried to start learning like Motley Crue songs and stuff. And I knew like major minor chords, like we called them church chords, you know. So I knew those because I was in like youth group and stuff at church, and like the pastor like showed me how to play a G major, and like so I would listen to the Motley Crue records and go like I can tell this is the same note, but it doesn't sound the same. I didn't know like power chords yet or bar chords or anything. So I would listen to the records and try to play along, and I was like, I guess it's just like they have some kind of special amps or something. Like it still seemed really impenetrable to me. You know what I mean? I just couldn't figure it out. But I was still possessed every day. Like I would run home to listen to the radio. Once I got a guitar, I would do the same thing, run home and like, because I could turn my amp up super loud for the next 2 hours till my parents got home. Yeah, so I was possessed from a very early age every day. And I play guitar today. I mean, still today.
Yeah.
I love it much.
Self-taught? Were you self-taught? Did you just figure it out yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the youth minister showed me like the major minor chords and stuff to play like One Tin Soldier and like Michael Row the Boat Ashore and stuff like that. And I didn't even care. I wasn't even like judgmental or anything. I was like, I'm playing guitar. This is awesome. Yeah. I didn't care. It was that corny or whatever. So what did you just ask me?
No, I just wanted to know if you were, well, you answered the question, I guess, like you did get some help from, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I wanted to take lessons. I'm not like proud of the fact that I self-taught or something because I'm no virtuoso.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it's, you know, you it's like learning how to bike, and then where you go from there kind of is up in the air. You could become a BMXer or you know, or just a guy that likes to ride in the street, you know, but
yeah.
Yeah, like the whole thing is interesting to me because obviously you were playing guitar before you. Oh, well, going back to something you said possessed, and that stood out to me because I think we can say we're kind of around a similar generation, and I don't know if there's a version of this today that because we're older that we're missing, but back then you would see Motley Crue videos and like you said, hair metal, Rat and Poison and all that shit. So it was just so wild and an interesting time because you would see that on television and be like, how can I do that? And it was very, I felt possessed just like you did. It's polarizing. And I really hope that people, I'm sure it's maybe more like live music. People go to St. Vitus and they see you on stage or somebody and they go, I want to do that. And we have YouTube. But, you know, something about seeing those bands on MTV, I think I can really relate to. I think that was a special time. When did you start getting out of the house? Like, what were your St. Vituses, so to speak, that you would frequent in your area? And who were the bands that you saw when you would go out to these places?
Well, when I was a teenager, there was like nothing where I grew up on the island, certainly nothing. I went to high school in Naples, which is about 30 miles north. And Laura from Against Me is actually from Naples too. But she was like a year or two younger or older than me, so we never crossed paths back then. But there was nothing there either. In Fort Myers, which was a little bit further north, had a little bit of a scene, but I wasn't old enough to go to shows then. So what we would end up doing is going to either Miami or Tampa or St. Pete. So in Miami, I would go to the Cameo Theater in Miami Beach, and I saw The Exploited there. When I was like maybe 15, my mom dropped us off. It was awesome.
That's
like,
wild.
So no one was, you know, so we could walk up to the club like we were cool. And I saw Iggy Pop there on, I think it was the Instinct tour. Andy McCoy from Hanoi Rocks was like his guitar player. Jane's Addiction opened. It was awesome.
Are you kidding me, man? That's insane.
Yeah, this is a long time ago, of course, but like, yeah, it was awesome. And then,
what would have been the Jane's Addiction album at the time?
Sorry.
What was the Jane's Addiction album that was out at the time? Was that Ritual or?
Right as Nothing Shocking was coming out. That was before they were doing like club headliners, because I saw them the year after that in Orlando at Visage, on like a headline tour or whatever. And I got it, like, I didn't have a fake ID, but I should have been let in, but I got in. I've been 6'1" since I was like 13. So it wasn't hard. But then we go to Tampa. I saw Soundgarden and Voivod in Tampa at Cuban Club, and I saw Love and Rockets in St. Pete. I saw 7 Seconds in St. Pete. A bunch of stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of before there was like the word alternative didn't really exist as a term. People would call it like progressive, and it was sort of this umbrella that just, you know, it covered anything that just wasn't Phil Collins, you know.
Yeah, man. I remember that Soundgarden Voivod tour too. I wasn't there. I think Artie, the owner of St. Vitus, went to see that here in Long Island. That was a special one. What a crazy time where you could see Voivod and Soundgarden, and all the stuff that you're talking about too really makes a lot of sense in terms of how it resonates through your music when you look at the background of it. Very eclectic shows to start out.
Yeah.
I want to tell everybody watching too. I see one guy actually submitted a question to the question box, and you guys have been asking questions in the comments. Just try to use the question box on the bottom. Otherwise, it's just hard for me to get to it, which I will in a bit. So again, just use the question box. What point did you start playing in bands? I'm sure you were in a bunch of bands before Whores that we might not know about.
Yeah, I started playing in bands right away. Like as soon as I got I got an electric guitar before I got an acoustic guitar, but so I had to get an amp. And as soon as I got an amp, me and my friends started playing in a band together, like immediately. Started writing our own songs and all that stuff. So the very first band I was in when I was, I think 8th grade, was called The Naked Truth. And that was that band. We wrote all our own songs, you know, because we couldn't like learn. We didn't know how to learn other songs, so. But I mean, it wasn't like just jamming or whatever. We had like lyrics and like real songs, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was in high school, I was in a band called Children of Eden that was like a very Love and Rockets influenced, I'd say. I didn't sing, I just played guitar in that band. And then in college, I was in a handful of bands. Nothing that ever really like played. We'd play house shows and stuff, but we never like played clubs or toured it and that kind of stuff. It's really when I moved to Atlanta in, I guess like the mid 90s, where I started playing in bands sort of more seriously. And the first band I was in here in Atlanta was called Estrada, and that was kind of like more sort of shellac kind of sounding, kind of like sparse and kind of like math rocky almost. Like
Right.
the two who put the ad in the paper that I answered had, I think, Tar, the Jesus Lizard, and Girls Against Boys in the ad. I think those are the three bands, and that's pretty accurate to what we sounded like.
Yeah.
And that I was in a band called Black Mollies that was more like kind of more like what Whores is, like heavier certainly, but more less like verse chorus verse kind of stuff, more like just riff kind of rock. That band was great. Loved it. And then I was in a band after that called Scars with the same two guys that were in Estrada when we were kids. We just called it different. And then when Scars was a band, I started doing Whores at the same time. And the dudes from Scars came to a Whores show, and they both were like, "Dude, you need to quit our band. You need to just play in this band." I swear. Like, so I did. Now we're still friends. I still talk to both of them.
What were some of your peers in the scene in Atlanta, like in terms of like, were there like kind of like cool underground bands that really inspired you as well, that you would play shows with and stuff? I feel like every area has a local scene that's like kind of hidden gems, and sometimes people talk about it, and I implore them to go check them out on Spotify, things that might have inspired you back then.
When I first moved to Atlanta, there were so many bands, and like I keep searching for them, like on YouTube and Spotify, and so much of the stuff is just not digitized. It's a drag. But even before that, when I was in North Carolina and playing and going to school, playing in bands, that was really super formative for me because I was like 18 through 21 or thereabouts. And that was like in the early 90s, which was the heyday of that scene. And I didn't know it at the time that it was the heyday. I was just there conveniently. So, and it's funny, like I'm starting to, the more Whores like gets out there and does stuff, the more I run into people who are from that same scene. Like there's a band called Shiny Beast in Raleigh back in the day that Brian Walsby, who played drums to that band, is a great artist, has done stuff, has done forever. And then the guitar player from that band, David Sullivan, is in Red Fang, and we've toured with them 3 times, So, and Beast was so cool. There was a band called Garbage Man back in the Raleigh days that was incredible. I mean, obviously, of course, there was Superchunk and Archers of Loaf and Paulvo and all the names you know of course. Like, but people like you and I are already sort of embedded in that world. We know those bands. But there was a lot of stuff happening. There was a band called Geezer Lake that I loved. They're friends of mine from Greensboro. And they were heavy, but they were weird and just interesting. And I don't know. There was so much cool stuff. When I moved to Atlanta, there was a pretty heavy, you would call it noise rock scene, but we didn't have that term back then. No one called it that. So there was the biggest band in that scene was this band called Tweezer that I love. I'm still friends with all those dudes. And Dudette, Shell plays drums. They were incredible. There was a band called Susie Beat that I liked a lot. There was Thin White Dukes were really good. There were so many like rad, gnarly bands. It's a band called Dirt, which is John Forbes, who went on to do Mount Shasta.
Okay.
There was a really vibrant, like heavy, gnarly rock scene here that wasn't like dude bro rock at all. It was definitely weird but very heavy. You can't find those bands. You look for them on the internet. They're just, you might find one video or something, but it's like awful quality, and it's
lots of good Georgia bands. So lots of great bands from Georgia. Obviously, Kylesa and Mastodon, and you guys.
Place.
Yeah, let me ask you. So when Whores finally, you did a bunch of bands. When and how did Whores come to be? And it's kind of a loaded question, but you mentioned like trying different styles and all sound like they kind of were still rooted in the punk thing. But like when you put Whores together, as you kind of explain how that all came together, I'd love to know about your musical inspirations and in putting the identity together, whether it's vocally or guitar wise and all that stuff,
Well, I didn't have like an overarching idea of a sound or anything. I just I wanted to play music and kind of do nothing else. And I didn't want it to be a hobby and just something that was like I'd get to it when I get to it. I wanted it to be like the sort of the foundation of my life. And so I started really taking it seriously and really trying to write good songs. And the funny thing is, for me at least, that doesn't mean writing songs that are complicated. It means making songs that are more simple, actually, which is tough to do. And a lot of people think like, and I'm not against like technical wizardry. I think it's super impressive and I'm into it too. You know, a lot of bands I like can play their asses off. But I knew that wasn't where my strengths were. So I was like, I really thought specifically about this. Like, I need to play to my strengths and, you know, what do I do well? And let me focus on doing that instead of maybe trying to lift up other areas where I was like perhaps sort of negligent in. I was like, let me just push those to the side entirely and not even worry about that and just do what, like, you know how in school they've got, or in public school, at least in America, they've got these assessment tests where they're like, okay, if you're low in this area, we need to bump that area up. And it's like, look, if you're good at math, just, and you like it, like go be an engineer. Like it's, I mean, not that education is job training, but you know, I think focusing on your strengths is something that we don't think about. We think like, oh, you need to be a jack of all trades. And it's like, life actually is really specialized once you become an adult. It's really,
Yeah,
you need to know how to do everything, you know?
I
So,
agree with you completely.
yeah, we're not told that though. I don't know that anybody really thinks about it that specifically, but I did. Um,
Yeah,
Started trying to write these songs that were like heavy, but interesting. And I really tried to start coming from the heart. Like I would, as far as lyrics go, when I first started, I would write stuff in second and third person. And then I started realizing like, I'm actually talking about myself, but I've like put it into this second or third person context because maybe I was afraid what people would think of me or something. And once I said like, you know, I need to just be, okay, but just be about this, people started responding to it. Same Vitus, like before we could play, put people in a room anywhere in the country, people were filling up St. Vitus and coming and seeing us play there. It was a big part of like us kind of taking the next step. No one in Atlanta gave a shit about us until the rest of the country did. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, I was at that show. It's like, there were 4 people there and I know all 4 of them. But yeah, so I didn't have like a big plan as far as the band. It was more of a personal plan as far as like, if I'm going to do this, I need to take it seriously and put a lot of, you know, real thought and effort into it. And then the rest kind of just falls into place, you know?
yeah, absolutely. And you know, you guys started out putting out EPs, and it's really interesting because, and as you said, you played a ton of shows, especially here in New York. Some of the shows you played here, I know it obviously took a while before they started to really pack out. I believe you played, I could be mistaken, I believe you played Union Pool at some point, maybe during the first EP,
Yeah.
and it wasn't, yeah,
When
wasn't at the
Marconi,
level yet.
pardon?
Right. It wasn't at that level yet when you were selling out St. Vitus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
at first, you just kind of
yeah,
got to do the work. And a lot of bands don't seem to understand that. Like they just come with their hand out and it's like, no one is going to do anything for you until it looks like there is a perceived advantage for them. So you have to build it up your own and have something to offer, not financially, but just like have something to offer before someone is going to be like, hey, come on this tour. Like the next big, you know, headliner that we do in America, I want to have this band Tongue Party on from Minneapolis. And I love a lot of bands who are sort of in their same scene and same like whatever, but they're out there slugging it out and doing it themselves and kicking ass, and they're a great band. And that is why I want them on our tour as opposed to another band, because like they are doing the work, not because they're trying to get somewhere, but because they love it. And dude,
yeah.
we did it the same way. Do it the same way, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's, again, you're encouraging people. That's the way it should be. You take a band under your wing like our heroes did, and I think that the greatest part is like when you're doing it out of respect. Obviously, there's good music and good people, but you respect what they do and you want to encourage them to keep working. Um, When did you notice that the band started to get some popularity in an underground sense? Because I remember seeing you guys a few times when Clean, your second EP, came out, and it was really starting to fill out more when you would come back to Brooklyn. And I'm sure it's different in other cities, but when was it for you when you were like, all right, I think people are starting to catch on and we're seeing some growth here?
There are a couple different things as far as like just shows go. I remember we played a venue in Ohio somewhere. I don't remember which city it was, but we played there as support. And then when we went back to that same city as a headliner, our agent booked that same venue, and I was like, that's the wrong venue for us. But then it was full when we got there, so I was like, oh, like I had no idea, you know. And not that whatever, I'm not tooting our own horn. It's just saying like you kind of don't. It's like the duck going across the water where you just see it going like this, but what you don't see is those feet underwater just kicking ass the whole time. It's got,
Yeah.
You don't realize what's going on because you can't see it every day. And also like internet stuff is a huge part of it that I feel like a lot of my peers maybe don't give that the attention that it deserves. And then people don't come to their show and they wonder why. And it's like, dude, everyone has a pocket robot on them at all times. And if you're going to pretend that isn't the reality, it's not going to work out for you, man. I mean, that's just the world, you know, and for better or worse, that's what we're doing. So get on board, you know?
Yeah. Let's take a couple questions right now. From this person's screen name is pretty funny, so I'll take this person's question first. From Candy Ass 3000. As someone who's never been, yeah, let's take a second to recognize that. What's up, Candy Ass 3000? As
So much
someone
better.
who's never, yeah, as someone who's never been to Atlanta, what music venues should I look up if I ever visit?
As far as sort of mid-level clubs, like, you know, 200, 300 level capacity clubs, the first two that I would recommend would be the Earl, which is an acronym for East Atlanta Restaurant Lounge. And then the other would be 529, and they're right down the street from each other. Also, there's a venue called Drunken Unicorn that is kind of going through a resurgence right now that I really like a lot. But yeah, as far as like our level band, I would check out those for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are two great venues. All right, we'll get back to. Well, I guess you got some shout outs here. Let's see. This is more of a shout out. Mertzbow, hi from Izmir, Turkey. How's Taco doing? I'm guessing this is somebody that you met while touring internationally.
Yeah, that's funny. I was going to mention a minute ago when you asked like how I knew that the band was kind of getting bigger or whatever. One of the things I was going to say is people would come up to me at the merch table and ask about my cat and know my cat's name. Just internet talking about a minute ago. It's like people are involved and they're interested, you know. And she's great. She just got her ball. She has this toy that she gets, this orange ball, and like I have to take it from her because she will sing me the song "I Heard People" uninterrupted until I take it from her because she loves it so much. So she was just playing with it, but I just took it from her. She's great.
Yeah, no, I love how these people just have access to everything now, and it's got its advantages and disadvantages. But that's great. Okay, so the two EPs, man, the Clean really fucking set it off. I think, obviously for you guys, what's a typical songwriting process for you guys?
Usually, I come up with, like everyone, a riff first. Something that, like, I don't know if it'll be the verse or the chorus or sort of a part that we don't sing on that we just kind of come back to a lot. So that comes first. And then what I usually try to do is come up with a counterpoint to that. Something that we can, like, in the practice space, go like A, B, A, B, A, B, and just kind of loop them back and forth and play them together as opposed to just playing one riff open-ended forever. Because we're not like a finesse kind of band, you know. So like just to play a bed of music and have someone just rip over it is just not what, like, it's not our style. So it's not fun for me either. It's just like not what I like to do, you know. I like to start building something. So usually that, and then if I like those two things, I'll try to write a chord progression that goes with them, whether that's two chords or three or four. So then take all that stuff home, record it with like GarageBand or whatever, and take that home, and then try to work on like lyrics for it. It's really more try to figure out cadences more than I like to give songs working titles, and a lot of times those titles will turn into the name of the song too. But the working title will give me sort of an idea thematically of what to write lyric wise, or at least a box to, so I'm not just spoiled for choice. Because if you have too many
Right.
options, I'm paralyzed. I need like some direction. So then I'll try to write like sort of a vocal cadence for it, and then try that, bring it back and refine it. And a lot of times, bring it back to the room, to the practice space. A lot of times, the part that I thought was the verse really is maybe like a bridge that we only do once, or maybe it's an intro, or it sort of reveals itself without too much thinking about it, just by repetition.
Yeah. Lots of very meat and potatoes, which I like the approach there because it, yeah, like you said, the focus on the things you're good at and make them powerful. You guys are great at that. What about? I mean, I don't want to bore people with like too much technical stuff, but I think that we should draw attention to the fact that you make. And correct me if I'm wrong, Christian, but I believe you make guitar pedals, and that's something that we should talk about, right? Do you want to let them know about the guitar pedal company?
Yeah, I'm in that world super deep. Like I have a I got a guitar delivered this afternoon to my apartment. Like it never ends, man. I've got another coming in the mail from Australia. I've been waiting on for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm heavy into gear, and so is Casey, who plays bass in the band. I don't physically build the pedals. What it is, excuse me, is there's a company from Texas called Idiot Box, and Matt, who owns that company, is a super rad dude. And we were playing a show in Texas with another band from Texas, and they had one of his pedals on their merch table that was like branded with their band, like it was their pedal. And I thought, well, Jesus, if there's any band that should be doing that, it should be us, because we're all into it, like really deep, just tinkering with stuff. So I hit him up, and he actually knew our band already and liked our band. And so he asked me what I thought I should do, or what I wanted to do for the band. And one of the main sounds that I use in the band is a combination of two pedals. It's a fuzz, like a gated fuzz with a cocked wah, so like a filter kind of section. So we put those two circuits in one pedal. He sent me the first prototype of it. I liked it, but it wasn't gated enough. It would feed back. So we added an internal gate for the second one, and then he did some more tweaks with the transistors, and to match them to, I think there's 3 germanium transistors in it. Might be 2, but I think it's 3. Anyway, that's technical stuff. But like, we tweaked it again, and the third was the one, and we've as soon as he can make them, we can sell them. I've got another, I think 10 in the mail right now. I'm not going to put them up on the internet until they get here, because of the coronavirus is made everything slow down, of course. So once I have them in hand, I'll put them up on the internet again. But they're rad. I've got it on my board right now. I used it on participation trophy on the last record. I used it on Playing Poor, and I used it on Baby Teeth on the record. I didn't have it for Clean, but yeah, I use it. I mean, it's rad. I love it.
Well, no, the sounds are obviously, I can even just tell from the comments here and just from knowing you guys and people that are into the band, always discuss. Can you just let everyone know where they can check out the pedals, or order them online if they want to?
Oh, yeah, it's on our Big Cartel store, which is just whores.bigcartel.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there you go, guys. If you want to sound like Whores, go to their Big Cartel and get those pedals. And also, I know everyone's struggling. I don't know how bad it is for you guys, but I think musicians who can't tour could probably use the help. So buy those fucking pedals. Okay, so we talked about sound. You guys have done a shit ton of touring, which we talked about also. You've played lots of festivals, shared stages with big bands. what were some of your holy shit moments? I mean, I know a couple of moments I could probably point out, but let's hear it from you. What were some of your holy shit moments?
Um, well, a moment ago when you were talking about people sort of taking you under their wing, and we were talking about Tongue Party, um, the first Red Fang tour that we did, at the end of the tour, their tour manager, Chris, came up to us and just handed us a wad of cash. It was a lot of money too. It wasn't $20. It wasn't $100. He handed us a wad of cash, and I was like, what is this? And he said, it's a bonus. And I was like, a bonus? What are you talking about? And he said, yeah, it's bonus for the tour. And I was like, I never had played with that something where that would even be a possibility. And, you know, he made it clear to me that someone did it for them. And I know the band who did it for them too. I'm not going to embarrass them by saying their name, but it's a band we all know and love. And so, yeah, so now we do that when we have bands who tour, who open for us. And it's really one of the last tours we did, a band that was with us had some car trouble, so I had to give them the money ahead of time. They didn't know I was going to give it to them. I wanted to wait till the end, but they needed it then, so I gave it to them then. And it wasn't much. I think it was like $300 or $400, something like that. But I mean, that's what we can do, and it's really more about the gesture, I think. So that was definitely a holy smokes moment. Like, we're kind of doing this for real, you know. We're playing with this band that's selling out all these places, and they like us, you know. So that was a big. Just last summer, we played Roskilde Festival in Denmark. It's 100,000 people, I think, or like something like that. It's something crazy. And you know, The Cure was the headliner for our day. Like, it was amazing. I grew up just loving that music. I played Boys Don't Cry at like summer camp when I was 14. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me. So yeah, that was insane. You know, being like, I mean, not shoulder to shoulder with them, but, you know, just being in the same world to them. It's like, okay, we're legitimate. This isn't a hobby. And, you know, my mom grew up in, you know, the New York area. And like, when the first time she saw us in the Village Voice, she was like, holy smokes. I was like, see, you know, like, it's actually a real thing, you know? So there's been a lot of moments like that. I think it's cliche to say to stay grateful, but I think it carries a lot of weight as far as like personal sort of fulfillment and peace, and just being thankful for what you have and not always reaching for something, but kind of being in the moment and going, this is incredible. We had a time when we were on that, I think the second Red Fang tour, that Casey and I were watching Red Fang play at Aggie Theater in Fort Collins, and so many people there. People were losing their mind, and he and I were standing right next to each other. And I just like leaned over and yelled in his ear, how amazing is this? How lucky are we right now? And it was, I didn't get teary-eyed, but it was a really powerful moment, feeling like I am doing what I am here on earth to do, you know? It felt really, not only just good, but really natural and like healthy, you know?
Absolutely. And you have to just really cherish those moments, because again, like, the tough thing about being a musician is like, you know, literally, it sounds cheesy, but you know, obviously the dream is to play a club in front of like 100 or 200 people. It's, you know, that's not to say that is not special, especially when you're playing underground music. But like, when you're an underground band and then you're playing a festival and The Cure is playing, and you're on stage watching that, I mean, Jesus Christ, you know, like, that, you really have to take that in and process it. You know, weird question, but Eddie Vedder was at one of your shows. Did you? Which is really funny and amazing to me at the same time, whether you're a Pearl Jam fan or not. But do you have any idea how he came to discover the band, and did you meet him?
It was a surprise. We were just in Seattle, and I think it was the first time we were there. It was either first or second. We weren't like, I don't know how many times we played there now, but more than one or two. So yeah, he was just at the show, and it was kind of at like a DIY venue too. It wasn't even like a regular venue, but I mean, he's local. It's not like you think these people are so separate, and you think like it's this, you know, it's this whole other world, but it's really like, and you know, from working, you know, from the band side and from like the magazine side, like, it's a small people, man, and they all know each other. So even it's different genre stuff, it's, you know, there's thousands and thousands of bands. There's like 15 that are really making moves, and they all know each other, you know. So it's really,
especially the techs and the people that work for him and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it's all connected. So yeah, it was really weird. I asked him. I asked him what he was doing at the show, and I was like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I'm here to see you." And I was like, "Get out of here!" Yeah, it was.
That's a Jesus
People
Christ.
weren't themselves to say hi to him or whatever. Just regular dude at the show, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, so you had a good experience with him. That's cool. What about and this is my only other question that's kind of like similar to that, but Duff McKagan dropped your name on the I think on several occasions, but in particular on the infamous CBGB film or whatever the panel was, where it was like fucking Henry Rollins and Marky Ramone and Johnny Lydon, and they had that whole situation. How did Duff McKagan, if you have any clue, find out about you guys, and have you ever met him or had any contact?
I haven't met him yet, but he said that, like, I guess his daughter is a musician, and I think she, like, he has said that she turns him on to bands and stuff and whatever. But yeah, it was a surprise to me too. Somebody like sent me a link to that interview, and I was like, holy smokes. And yeah, I mean, I had a Guns N' Roses poster on my wall when I was a little kid, you know what I mean? And like when I got to like it, and when I was like only into punk, of course I hated it and disavowed all that stuff. And now as an adult, I'm like, that record is incredible, man. And I love it.
Yeah.
Flattering, you know.
Fucking cool, man. That's awesome. I love that. I love when that happens to bands that I am friends with. So I was really pumped when I came across that. Let's talk about the Gold LP in 2016. I love that record. How do you feel like it was received? It was obviously like the first one, you know what I mean? Like, you know, how did you feel, you know, the world took to it? I mean, it took you to a lot of cool places, but were you happy with how everything kind of worked out and everything with that? Because that was a big label and a big change for you.
Yeah, it definitely. A lot of stuff happened that I wouldn't have seen coming. And I'm not gonna list, you know, stuff like whatever, like a jerk, but like cool stuff definitely came out of it. We're recording our new record with the same guy, Ryan, who did both Clean and Gold. He didn't do Ruiner, but he's my friend, man. I talked to him last night because I got a new pair of headphones that he recommended. And we go to lunch together and like hang out, and he's the man. So he is a big part of why that record sounds the way it does. I mean, yeah, some of it is just putting microphones up and capturing what the amps and the pedals are doing, but a lot of it is Ryan, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that, like we were saying, that's really into the band is always talking about the sound, and not to go backwards, but you mentioned the dude that recorded Clean and Gold, and how you might be going back in with him. Do you do a lot of stuff live, or you know, what's the process there?
For recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we do is we set up the drums in the live room, and then me and Casey, the bass player, are also in the live room with our guitars, but our amps are in separate rooms. So we can be in the room with the drums. All three of us can be in the same room together. So then we'll record all of that. And the goal for those takes is to get an outstanding drum take. A lot of times we'll be able to use the guitar or the bass take with that as well, if it's particularly good. After we're confident that we got the perfect drum take, and not the perfect tempo or the perfect quantization, but the perfect feel for the drums, where it's just right on the edge of falling apart, just blasting hard. Then we'll go and do guitar and bass depending on the song. And I will set up my amps in the live room and then be in the room with the amps so I can get feedback is a big part of our sound. So I need to be in the room with the amp. I can't have it in an isolated room where you can't put the headstock of the guitar on the guitar cabinet. And when you connect like that, you can make very pleasing, like, harmonic feedback. And you can't do that if you're in a different room. So we'll do that. We'll get all the guitars and bass, not all of them, but the chords, like the main part of the song. And then we'll go and do all of the singing with just Ryan and I. And then after we're done with that, Ryan and I will be in the studio and we'll do like all the pick slides and all like the noises and all the stuff where the panning where it goes left to right. So we'll do all of that noisy stuff and mixing at the same time. And that's what we've done for the last 2 records. I assume we'll do the new one that way as well. It's worked really well for us.
Yeah. That's very cool to just hear about, because the sound of you guys, I mean, like, some people just like a band, they don't really give a shit, but people I think are fascinated by how you guys are really able to achieve the sound. So thanks for sharing that. I see a lot of questions, so this is what I'm gonna do, because what happens, guys, is once you reach the 1 hour mark, Instagram kicks you off. So don't get mad at me if we get kicked off. So I have to like follow some kind of order. I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna get to your questions right now, guys, and we'll look at those. And then I've got some of my own that I'm going to get to at the 5-minute mark. So let's see what you got for us. Some people don't ask the best questions, so I got to be picky here. Okay. Yeah, people ask the weirdest fucking questions. All right, let's do this one. Rye Drone, a tour in Brazil and South America. Any possibility to happen? Any plans on the road? It's a tough question because of the pandemic, but go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. We're definitely going to get there. It's just a matter of time and money, really. We had a tour in Australia planned for the first 2 weeks of April, which we know how that went. So we've moved that to December, and that will be our first time. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in December. We'll see, But yeah, I definitely want to go to South America for sure. It's just a matter of money, really, and getting a promoter that sees value in us to organize the tour. But we definitely want to.
Cool. All right. This is kind of a weird loaded question. Well, I'll simplify it. Chad or C. Bedford. I can't see anything. I need glasses.
It's Chris Richardson.
Chris. Yes, Chris. Oh, you know the guy. When is the new album coming out?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, from when we finish it, when you deliver an album, typically it's deliver meaning you get to the label, the physical. I mean, I know you know this, but like you get them the music, but you also have to get them all of the credits. You have to get all of the art. It has to be all in the right formats for all the different, for vinyl or for CDs or for digital. You have to, it's called deliverables. And I know you know that, but once you give them everything they need, you're still looking at 3 to 6 months after that date.
Yeah.
So we haven't put it in yet.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I can't wait, man. It's been a bit. Okay, full of hellionaires. First of all, this guy's always tuning in. I appreciate you watching and supporting every night. So thank you. What's your favorite AMRAP band?
That's a hard question because I love AMRAP, and Tom Hazelmeyer, who owns and operates AMRAP, has been really good to us. We've been on 2 records that he's put out. We went and played his festival with like Mudhoney and Melvins and Cherubs and Lydia Lunch and the Blind Shake. And like, we weren't opening either. We were like in the middle. I mean, it was crazy, like super cool. So I don't know. I'm going to have to say Halo of Flies because that's Tom's band. Do a little ass kissing.
Okay. Let's see. G. Carlson 20. Favorite bands you've toured with, music-wise and personalities?
I've already mentioned it, but it has to be Red Fang. They've been so good to us. I just did an interview a couple days ago, and the reason I did it is because Brian from Red Fang texted me and said, hey, I just did this interview thing. Do you want to do it? And I had been texting Aaron, who's also in the band, the day before that, like just randomly, just saying, hey, what's going on? How you doing? What's new? Or whatever. And then Aaron is married to Hosey, who plays drums in Helms Ali, and we've toured with them together too, and they are an incredible band. They're the nicest people. We had so much fun with them.
I just had her on an episode. Yeah. Oh yeah, Red Fang. You guys, I know, had a great time with. And you mentioned earlier what great touring partners you were with them. I didn't know that about Hosey. She was on the show a week or 2 ago, and she was talking to him on camera. Like he was off camera, and I didn't make the connection. So that's really interesting. Okay.
They haven't been married forever. We're pretty new. Let's
see. What else do we got here? All right. The rest of them are guys. I appreciate the questions. You get some weird ones in here, so I'm not gonna. And we have limited time, so let's see. I always ask my guests this, and we're in that last 10-minute mark. We all want to get out of the quarantine, obviously, but we don't know when it's going to happen. Let's just assume we're stuck in it longer than we want to be. What are your 5 quarantine albums if you have to be stuck with 5 albums during the quarantine?
That's really hard to do. What I can do is behind me is the stereo, and I always put like a big thing of records right here. So like when I'm going through, when I'm thinking of records I want to listen to, I just make like a note in my phone and then go get those records. So I have like a little pile behind me of like maybe 20 records instead of a couple thousand. So we'll just look at these records. Ice Age, our last one. This is the Sleep record. Dead Cross. Kerosene 454. It's like a Discord band from the 80s or 90s. Blue Tip,
dude,
also Discord.
Kerosene 454 was amazing. If anyone watching doesn't know that band, they were very underrated. They were, like what Christian said, in the 90s. Yeah.
Pussy Galore, Idols. That's it. I'll do that. I got a ton, but I don't know. I like so much music. It's really impossible to narrow it down because it's like 5 favorite, heavy records, 5 favorite, do you know what I mean? Like goth records, 5 favorite. Yeah. Like I can't just favorite. It's impossible, you know? It's a fool's errand.
All right, this is a good one. Rye Drone wants to know, Whores and blank band, who would you want to do a split with if you could pick a band to do a split with?
Probably Melvins.
Yeah, hell yeah. And they put out so much music all the time. Okay, let's see. Oh, man, you guys are asking some really weird questions. Okay, and unless I get some more, I think we're doing good. And to Nikki Pyland, I think it's safe to say Whores does not do any Days of the New covers. Someone also asked if you like nu metal. I think we're gonna go ahead and assume no.
They're trying to be cute. That's
yeah, man. Let me ask you this: what are your favorite? What are, like, let's say, your top 5 cities or areas to visit on tour?
In America, I love going to Seattle. I love going to Austin. I tell you, we played in Tucson maybe a year and a half ago. We had never been there. We'd only done Phoenix. Tucson's really cool. I mean, obviously New York, thing. And then as far as like Europe goes, which we've only been to America and Europe, we haven't been to the Far East yet. But London is always great for us. Copenhagen, we haven't played in. We did Roskilde. That's right outside of Copenhagen, but that's a beautiful city. Actually, all of Scandinavia is pretty dynamite. I mean, we've done Denmark, Norway, Sweden. We played up in Finland. That whole part of the world is unreal. I love it there.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I just hope that you guys can get back to it, because I know that you guys are road warriors, and you're one of the most impressive when it comes to being road warriors, and that's coming from someone that tours a lot too. And I just think that if anyone out there that's watching just wants to kind of take a good example of the grind, man, and all that, just fucking these guys, man, they and you've been through lineup changes. And I want to point that out. I'm not going to get into your personal business at all, because that wouldn't be cool. But I always thought over the that, like, people, especially singers that are frontmen who are playing guitar, they start a new band and they change names, and then it ends up being another band that sounds the same. And I think it's genius that you kept the name as you should. It's your band, and you have a great bunch of players now. I want to give a shout out to Joel Willis, who is a Brooklyn dude that I saw many times at St. Vitus, and he will be on your new record, and he's a beast. So, what are some of the challenges you think you faced with the with keeping a lineup together, and then bring us up to speed with who's in the band now.
Well, it's always difficult, especially when you're not 22, because people have lives, and they get, you know, jobs. They start thinking about their future, and by job I mean career, job, families. They have obligations. I mean, things come up. People, you know, maybe they're trying to start their own business. Like, it's not like when you're a kid. So it's hard, and I just don't want to do anything else. I'm not going to do anything else. So you know, I'm in this until the wheels fall off, until I can't do it anymore. And
Yeah.
if someone does that same attitude, then it's not going to work. I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean, it sounds crass or sounds awful, but like, it's not easy to do this, but it's really rewarding. And I have to kind of be playing with people who are putting into it what I'm putting into it, emotionally, time-wise, commitment, all those sort of things. It matters.
Yeah.
Joel just asked a minute ago what kind of socks were my favorite. I think I saw he had a question, so he's on here right now. Hi, Joel. Joel and I have been going to the and just like he and I, because Casey lives outside of Atlanta, about close to an hour, but Joel and I both live in town, so we can just like pop down to the space easy. And he and I have been doing that just kind of informally, not really playing songs, but working on new stuff, and it's been really productive. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go through everyone who's been in the band, because there's been a bunch of people in the band, but like, I realized early on that if I were to, quote, start over with a different name, I would be starting over. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They think like, oh, I'm at this place with this band, I can leave and do my own thing, and I'll start from that place. Not the case. Not the case at all. We played with the band early in our trajectory that had people who are in like kind of famous bands, but it wasn't that famous band. It was the new band, and 6 people paid in Tampa. 6 people. I mean, it's, you know, you don't get to coast on it, man.
No. And Christian, we're at that like 3-minute mark before we get kicked off. So I want to just say that I'm glad that you kept it going, because it's powerful stuff, and you've always gotten good players. And yes, shout out, if you look at Joel Willis is on here, and he posts a lot of great drum content. He's a dedicated player. You should follow him he's gonna love this, I'm sure, at JW_drums_. With that being said, can you, obviously we're on Instagram, so people know where to follow the band, but you want to drop some socials real quick, and any links or things online where everyone could
Whores Band on Instagram. It's Whores Band on Facebook. We're on Twitter, but I don't mess with it that much. And then Bandcamp, same thing. It's just Whores Bandcamp, you know. And that's probably the best way. We're gonna do the Bandcamp's doing the not taking their fund or whatever again soon, but we're just gonna put all our stuff up for free for that 24 hours, which we always do, sort of in defiance of that sort of stuff. So we'll be doing that again soon.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for making time tonight. It's been just cool to see your face, and like, it's just like a great thing for us to engage in while we're stuck at home and we can't interact in person and with people and do what we want, you know, what we usually do, entertaining and all that kind of stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Love you so much. We'll see you soon.
Love you. Stay safe out there and keep making that noise, bro.
Bye.
See you soon. Okay. Okay, well, check it out, guys. If you were tuning in a little too late, these episodes are going to be on my YouTube channel tomorrow or the day after. We try to get to it quick, but if you go on YouTube and you look up Christopher Enriquez, that's me, you'll find my YouTube channel with most of the, actually all of the episodes. I don't know why I would say most, but all of them are on there. And you can follow me at Chris Enriquez Drums. You could follow Revolver Magazine, where I work, at Revolver Mag, and my band at Spotlights Music. And thank you to the St. Vitus folks for letting me do this. Thank you for tuning in every night. And I have 30 seconds remaining, but tomorrow I have, who the fuck do I have tomorrow? We have Alexis Marshall from Daughters label mates of mine. And Dave Castillo, my co-host, is going to be interviewing him. This Sunday, we have Frank Turner. Monday, we have George from Death Heaven. Tuesday, Laura from Kylesa and The Discussion. Wednesday, Alex Skolnick from Testament. Thursday, Sergio Vega of Deftones and Quicksand. Friday, Boy Harsher. Tune in.